back. The Cultural Medallion and Young Artist Award represent the highest honours for artists who create distinctive masterpieces that help shape the country's cultural landscape. Now, tonight we are joined by this year's Cultural Medallion winner, Eric Watson, and one of the Young Artist awardees, Weixin Quek Chong. Thank you both for coming in.
Thanks.
And Eric, I'll come to you first. Get your thoughts on, I mean, you're known for fusing diverse musical and cultural elements in your pieces. What's behind the inspiration, and how have you sort of managed to sort of meld together, I suppose, the different influences?
Actually, the inspiration initially was the sound of the instruments, and the instruments themselves. For a Westerner, the appearance of the instruments is quite exotic.
Oh, okay.
Quite often. So there's a curiosity there as to, oh, that looks interesting. Well, you know, how's it going to sound, and how do they sound together? I wonder what would happen if I put this with a group of Western instruments, for instance, or against a bed of violin strings. Would it stand out in a pleasant way, or would it be jarring on the ear? So those are the kind of thoughts that lead to various combinations, you know.
Okay, and I suppose in Singapore, quite the melting pot. You have access to Chinese, Indian, Malay, ethnic instruments.
That's one of the wonderful things about living here in this city. Yes, is that's just there on the doorstep. I can talk to the musicians as well fairly easily, sometimes with an interpreter, but actually, usually, it's pretty easy to communicate, you know.
Yes, through the music that you all have in common, I'm sure. Yeah. Now, congratulations to you both. I should have started with that. And congratulations to you as well, Weixin, for the grand prize at the President's Young Talents Awards this year. Did you think you would achieve? Was this a bit of a surprise to you?
It was definitely a surprise. It can be quite unpredictable for an artist to receive that kind of validation. So definitely big surprise.
And tell us a bit about you know, the area that you work in, your expertise.
I started off with specialization in printmaking and fine arts, but it has kind of expanded or grown over the years, and now, when possible, I try to make environments and installations. So.
Okay, much bigger pieces. I've got a quote here from you. Artworks are arenas where one can connect with one's particular context and background. Give us sort of a bit, elaborate on that if you can.
I think in terms of both making the artwork and also observing it or experiencing it, you bring so much of your individual perspective and also your feelings and sensations at the moment to it. So it really is something that can reveal more about you as well as others from how you react to it.
And I suppose over time those sort of views may perhaps change.
Definitely. I mean, we all know that if we look at our, you know, photos from 10 years ago and stuff, like, oh, what was I thinking?
Okay, so I'm going to come back to you, Erica. You moved, speaking of time and how things have changed, I understand you moved out here in the 90s?
Yeah, yes, actually, 1991.
Okay, so you've been here for a good number of years.
29 years, yes. Virtually, yes.
How have you sort of seen the art scene or the music scene in Singapore change?
Oh, it's changed tremendously. When I first came, it was very much smaller than it is now. The classical music scene was burgeoning. It was healthy, but it was burgeoning. But everything else was not quite so well developed, apart from some theatre. But in the last 10 years, it's just increased exponentially. It's just an enormous increase in numbers. Now, I think one of the factors there, apart from people becoming much more aware of the arts in general, was actually the establishment of the theatres on the bay, as far as music is concerned. And, you know, I go there a weekend, and the place is teeming with people.
Yeah, musicians and artists all really need a platform, don't they, to be able to showcase their talents?
Yes, we don't really exist alone. We need people.
And Weixin, this is an exciting time then to be an artist in Singapore?
I think it is, definitely, yeah.
And going forward then, what are your sort of next challenges or your next things on both of your agendas?
Well, I'm going to do some recording, actually, in the very near future. I've got a number of works which I've written which have not actually seen the light of day or the ears of day. So I've got plans to record those, and I'm actually thinking about writing another musical as well, but that's a bit tentative at the moment.
Okay, and Weixin, for yourself?
Well, I have a few projects up till like kind of fall next year to wrap up. So I'll work on those, and then I have to plan how to use the grant from the Young Artist Award. So that's the main thing on my plate.
That'd be a nice thing to have to consider.
Yeah. Something I'm looking forward to plan for sure.
Okay, and just to get your thoughts, you've been in Singapore for so many years, but have you ventured out around the region as well? As your work included, you know, other instruments from where we are?
Yes, in fact, I'm just about to go overseas to conduct a very interesting orchestra, which consists of all the ethnic instruments of all the ASEAN countries and Korean instruments. The performance will be in Korea, in fact.
Okay.
So that's really quite an exciting project to be involved with. Quite difficult to make them all work together. But
yes, I can imagine you're going to have quite a challenge on your hands.
Challenge, but yeah, would I welcome one, you know?
Yes, and before I let you go, one quick question to both of you. What advice would you have for young artists or young musicians that are sort of, you know, passionate about what they do, about sort of making their headway sort of in Singapore?
3 things for me. Develop curiosity, perseverance, actually is really terribly important, and discipline. No artist or musician is going to get anywhere without discipline.
Weixin, your thoughts?
I agree with Eric. I'm going to add on top of that to stay connected to what you enjoy and what you do, because a lot of times it's very lonely and maybe only you have a reward from it. So
very good point.
it's really important.
Yes. Well, thank you. Well, congratulations both once again.
Thank you.
And thank you for coming and sharing your thoughts with us. We've been speaking to Cultural Medallion winner Eric Watson and one of the Young Artist Awardees, Weixin Quek Chong.